Could a Jevon Holland extension with the Miami Dolphins, if they want to make it happen, cost upwards of $80 to $85 million? I warned all y'all. I warned all y'all before you even took a snap this season. We will talk about that. Also, Reggie Mckenzie. I got a little bit to say about this because I think this move is bigger than what people are giving it credit for. So we're going to talk about Reggie Mckenzie because, let's be honest. Are the rats scurrying off a sinking ship? All right. We will talk about all of that and so much more on this episode powered by BetUS. Do me the favor, smash the like button. You already know what time it is. Subscribe if you're new. Let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it!
You have got to be kidding me.
Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown.
And he will score!
Field on the near side, man open, touchdown!
The run from Tua Tagovailoa.
Touchdown!
He's going deep. He's got it for the touchdown again. Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one. We're live, baby. It feels like it's been a minute as I dropped a few static videos for you guys this weekend. A little bit different, we'll see how it goes, but a little bit different than what we've done it. Thank you for showing love. Honestly, thank you for showing love. I appreciate each and every one of you who came out and showed love to those videos over the weekend. That Tua video, I'd been thinking about that video for a minute. I wanted to get that hammered. Just be honest with you. You want to know what's crazy about that video? I'll give you a little behind the scenes. I recorded 17 minutes of that video muted. I had to go back and re-record 17 minutes of that video. It was not a fun time, that video. But the point needed to be made. You know what I mean? Where, listen, here's the fact of the matter. Okay? You can say what you want. You can view Tua however you want. The fact of the matter is other quarterbacks in this league can run this system. And the fact that they need to be either, depending on who you view, whether it's Dak, Goff, whatever, top 12, whether it's Mahomes, Burrow, whatever, top 5, top 3, whether it's Stroud, Daniels, top 10, it don't matter. Stafford, top 10, don't matter. The fact of the matter is you either got to be top 12, top 10, top 5 in the NFL to run this offense. And that should tell you something about how Tua is viewed as a quarterback in the NFL. He's not a write-off as some of y'all would try to make other people in his fan base and around the community believe. He just wouldn't. He has certain intangibles and traits that the most athletic guys in the league don't have that play the position. So it is what it is, right? So I wanted to get that video out for you guys, and obviously Tyreek Hill and hiring a new wide receiver coach. So a lot went on this weekend. And it'll continue. And hey, we're not even talking about, listen, yesterday, man, those Commanders, way too many excuses. Why? Because they made too many mistakes. Way too many excuses they can come away with saying, oh, if this would have went our way, but the mistakes that team was making. I mean, I felt bad for Jaden Daniels at one point because he wasn't even getting a chance to bring his team back into the game. Like, I felt bad for Jaden Daniels as I was watching him on the sideline. I'm like, this guy can't even get back in the game right now. His team just keeps letting him down. Unbelievable. Yeah, he threw the pick late when they were pushing, but still. Come on. And this tush push, please. Oh, give me a break. You know, like Jalen Hurts is going to have one of the most overrated stat lines of playoff football that's ever existed. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. Okay? You know, like, 3 rushing touchdowns, 10 carries for 16 yards, averaging 1.6 yards a carry and 3 touchdowns because of that tush push BS. My God. I will say this, though. Shout out to Nick Sirianni. Everyone called McDaniel the genius, and when they saw the cheat motion and the vertical threat and the speed threat added to the Shanahan system for the first time, they're like, oh, he is a genius. But the tush push has lasted longer than the cheat motion and been more effective. Shout out to him. What up, Reason? Since Reggie Mckenzie is out, can you apply for the jobs? We need somebody with a brain in there, bro. I'll go apply for it right now. Let's go. Like, let's go right now. Give me, hey, bro, I'll do it. I got you. Don't worry. I got you. You go, someone find me the application, and I'm all over that ish. All right? I am all over that ish. Don't worry. Hey, if it comes to it. Timothy must be a South Carolina fan because he's asking about 2 South Carolina interior players, TJ Sanders as well as Tonka Hemingway from South Carolina. He says, Reason, is TJ Sanders or Tonka Hemingway on your top 10 for interior D-line? I have not finalized my interior defensive line big board, but I have watched these guys. Right now, I finalized 3 big boards. Have been finalized. Quarterback, guard, and offensive tackle. I have finalized right now. Well, let's call it a rough finalization because I still wait for the Senior Bowl and the Combine. Combine really doesn't move my stuff. The only time it ever moved someone, there's only one time the Combine has moved someone, and it was Kyron Williams. It moved Kyron Williams down, I forget, but I had him in the top 3 and it moved him down to 6 or 8. And I should have kept him in the top 3 because of what he's produced. Now, he obviously doesn't have the breakaway speed, and the Combine told us that. But that's the only player it's ever affected ever in my rankings. And that's because Kyron Williams had arguably like the worst Combine ever for a running back. And that's what it took. And it only slightly affected. It's not like you dropped out of my top 10, right? You dropped out of my top 5, or my top 3. But, you still were he was still in my top 8. So it was just a really bad Combine. It scared the hell out of me. So, but I have not finalized this. But I will say this. TJ Sanders is probably going to make my top 10. Tonka is like a fringe guy for me right now. I haven't finalized it, but I can at least tell you that. I can at least tell you that's probably where I'm at with them right now. So, but don't worry. We will be getting, I mean, everyone knows those guys I've talked about. I've talked about Mason Graham. I've talked about Derek Harmon. I've Shamar Stewart. I'm a big Deion Walker guy from Kentucky. Kenneth Grant. I like Walter Nolan, Shamar Turner. I've watched Nazir Stackhouse is a guy I've talked a lot about. I think he's being slept on. I've watched like 16, 17 of these guys. And so I've watched a good amount of this class. I just haven't started to place them yet. Well, I should rephrase that. I haven't started to place them outside of my top 5 yet. Let me put it that way, okay? I pretty much have my top 5 locked in, but I'm starting to place them outside my top 5. But don't worry, I will be finalizing. That's probably actually the next big board I will be finalizing. So that'll probably be done by, middle of this week, end of this week. So, and I do agree with Timothy Washington on his follow-up. I do agree with you. I do think it's low-key. Yeah, I would agree with you that it's low-key kind of, I'm going to tell you right now, a guy I'm probably going to be higher on than a lot of people is Demetrius Knight. I'm pretty high on Demetrius Knight. So I'm going to be probably higher on him than a lot of people you're going to come across. But I love the kid's game. He's a dog, man. He's that kid, and he does so many good things. Like, I look at that kid and I see a very, very high ceiling. I really do. When I look at that kid, man, I'm high on him. So another kid I really like, because I watched a lot of Ole Miss this year because of Jackson Dart. I'm really high on Chris Paul Jr. out of Ole Miss, big time. I think he's going to be a really good player too. You know, I do agree with you. I think this I'm going to say the linebacker class is low key, just, you know, really good. I also like Jay Higgins out of Iowa, right? I like my Iowa linebackers. You know, just giving y'all an early spoiler. Nick Bolton is a potential free agent this offseason. Imagine pairing Nick Bolton with Jordan Brooks. Where do I sign? Y'all remember back-to-back drafts. Who were my man crushes? I always have two man crushes at each position. But who were my top man crushes back-to-back years at linebacker? Nick Bolton and Leo Chanel. They're about to play in like their 4th Super Bowl together. And I'm sitting here being like, what's up? But Nick Bolton was my dude, if y'all remember me watching back, if y'all watched me back then. And so was Leo Chanel. And it hurt so much when we took Channing Tindall and Leo Chanel was the very next pick. I was like, oh my God, that's what good franchises do. It's like, look at the turnaround with the Lions. How many of the guys they selected with turnarounds have been man crushes of mine? From Jack Campbell to Sam Laporta. Holy jeez. They've got them Penei Sewell. Like, they've got them everywhere. And I'm sitting here looking at them like, oh my God. Now, we are starting to add them. You know, Jalen Wright was a man crush of mine. Devon Achane was a man crush of mine. And I, you know, very, 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 very high ceilings for these kids, I think. You know? Cooper DeJean. Remember I had Cooper DeJean as a man crush at cornerback and at safety? Because I'm like, this kid can play both. I love this kid. And I had Dolphin fans arguing with me about taking Cooper DeJean in the 2nd round. And I'm sitting here watching this guy under Fangio like, oh my God. Go look at my man crushes yearly and go look at how many of them end up being like home runs. It's crazy. It's actually crazy when you go look at my man crush list every year. Go onto X, go Google my name, you know, at the _real_reason and man crush list, and go look at my man. Look at how many have a freaking hit. It's crazy. Oh my God, it's nuts. It's nuts. I get why. Hey, listen, I'm not even giving myself the old Barry Horowitz, but I get why some of y'all come into my chat and say, I've been watching you for years. Reason I wish you were running the scouting department. Yeah, so do I. We'd be a lot better. We would have traded up for Tristan Wirfs, all right? You know, we would have drafted Jonathan Taylor instead of Noah Igbenogany, all right? You know, like, we would have still taken Robert Hunt. Now, we would have lost out on a couple picks like Curtis Weaver and Solomon McKinley because it would have been used, and we would have got Austin Jackson because I would have used all that ammo to move up and go get Tristan Wirfs, but, you know, we wouldn't have drafted Brandon Jones. We would have drafted, well, no, he went actually the pick before, Ashton Davis. That's who I would have targeted at that pick, but he went the pick before. I think Gase took him with the Jets. I forget who I liked on the board at that time. But anyways, I digress. We would have had Penei Sewell. I would never have traded up for Eichenberg. Creed Humphrey would have been my pick. I was high on Creed Humphrey coming out. I also, instead of Hunter Long, Quinn Miners would have been my pick. Instead of, you know, I remember all these things like vividly. You know what I mean? Like, I remember these vividly. So, you know, like, we would have been, you know, and we would have had a wall. Let me tell you that. Imagine Devon Achane and Jalen Wright behind. We wouldn't have needed Teron Armstead under my regime. It would have been Penei Sewell, Quinn Miners, Creed Humphrey. At right guard, you would have had Robert Hunt, because I was talking about the night before that draft, I did a mock draft, and I was talking about drafting Robert Hunt. Right guard, I would have taken Robert Hunt. And at right tackle, we would have had Penei Sewell. We would look, imagine, what? Imagine, never mind Tua. Imagine what Tyler Huntley would look like behind that line. Maybe we wouldn't have moved off of Bridgewater. Maybe, I'm just saying, I don't know. Maybe Skylar Thompson's development would have been better. I don't know. But imagine Achane and Jalen Wright. Hell, imagine Mostert behind that. Good God. Now, we wouldn't have had Jalen Waddle. But would I have made the trade for Tyreek? Probably. Yeah, I would have made the trade for Tyreek. The Chubb trade is the one I wouldn't have made. So, my God. Her offensive line, man. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, because, hey, go back to me. You can find the quotes when I did the Tuesday night panel. Before we drafted Tua Tagovailoa, I said, and I quote, I don't care if you draft Burrow, Tua, Herbert, Love, Hurts, build me what they have in Indianapolis and in Oakland. Because at the time, the Colts and the Raiders were the cream of the crop next to the Patriots, right? Quentin Nelson was in his prime. The Raiders' offensive line wasn't aged out yet. They were dominant. I build me what they have there for whoever we got. Because what did I say? I literally said, if Burrow, Herbert, Tua, Love, whoever you draft doesn't work out, at least the offensive line is built for the next guy. If this guy doesn't work out, that you take. Because you never know. Man, I'd be building the offense. I'm the type where, listen, man, I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm either building the offensive line before I get my franchise quarterback, or if my franchise quarterback falls in my lap, gung-ho to the offensive line. Or if I'm targeting a quarterback in a draft, free agency, I'm spending money, and I'm getting ready to spend draft picks. Now, we spent draft picks and Austin Jackson into the system you asked him to be. I called it a bad thing from the beginning, and I was right. When McDaniel came here, I said McDaniel was going to change his career because of the outside zone scheme. I was right again. Okay. Well, you got Lemeul, Jeanpierre, who, God bless those Senior Bowl offensive linemen. Lemeul Jeanpierre is out here going to coach the Senior Bowl offensive lineman. The same guy who said when he was our offensive line coach, he said if he would have drafted Wirfs, he would have moved him to guard. Pardon me. Okay? Right? The guy on YouTube gets the eval right, knows how to use the guy, knows where to put the guy. But the guy who's getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars doesn't even know how to utilize the guy. My Lord. Again, I go back to my point earlier. I don't blame all y'all who've been watching me for 5 years and say, yo, give this guy a job. Because at least I've proven I know what the hell I'm looking at. Unbelievable. This guy still has a job because it's a country club. Everyone's friends. This guy should have been out on his ass with Brian Flores and Lemeul Jeanpierre. I said back then, when Brian Flores was still the coach, if you were my offensive line coach and you walked in and said, yo, man, I can't believe we didn't land Wirfs. And I say to you, yeah, man, how would you have liked to use him? And you say, man, I would have loved to kick him in the guard and I would have kicked out Robert Hunt to right tackle. I would look you dead in the eye and I would say, go get a box, pack your shit, and get out of my building right now. I'm not even lying to you. I think you guys know me by now. I would literally say, get the hell out of my building. Because there were people in his fan base saying, we don't need Penei Sewell. Robert Hunt's the answer at right guard. And from day one, go look at when I was on the draft show with everybody for that draft, etc., I said he has the potential to be a Pro Bowl, All-Pro guard. I said he's not a right tackle. He is a guard. He kicks inside. Robert Hunt. And you had people arguing me on X, arguing me on YouTube. Oh, he's a tackle. Brr, 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 brr. Okay, well, you tell me where he got his $100 million contract. Anyways, or $20 million a year contract. Anyways, I digress. This guy would have inverted. He would have had Robert Hunt at right tackle and Wirfs at right guard. He would have messed the whole thing up. He could have messed up both their developments. But somehow this guy's still on the staff. Wow. I'm going to go back to this. Where are the cojones? Where are the set of brass BALS? Where are the cojones? Someone tell me. Listen, I'm not saying you got to be, unreasonable and irrational and knee-jerk reaction with everything. But my God, you think for guys whose jobs are probably on the line, potential one-and-done year, could be dead man walking, you think they'd be carrying more guys out to the guillotine? Because I'm telling you right now, Frank Smith would have been the first guy to the guillotine for me, and I would have said, yo, Frank, love you, baby, but I got to worry about my own ass and my own employment and my own job and my own family. Ring, ring, ring. Hello, can I speak to Doug Peterson? Ego taken out, put to the side. Like, I'm just shocked. I hope it works for their sake. I hope it works for their sake and they can get back to 2023. But if you don't make sufficient changes and it ends up as 2024 all over again, oh, Lord help you and us. Please. Like, see, and I'm just saying this, like, if you would have fired Frank Smith and promoted Bevel, or if you would have fired Frank Smith and hired Doug Peterson, that would have told me you're taking it seriously. You know why? Because even if you're still the play caller, you're bringing in one of two guys that have been to the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl, and called plays in the Super Bowl. One as the head coach, one as the offensive coordinator. And even if you were saying, I'm going to start off the season calling plays, but that would have shown me you're taking it seriously, because you know what you're telling me? If this doesn't go right with my play calling, I'm going to lean on one of these guys and it's going to be a smooth transition. Because they're experienced. They've won. But nope. Don't want to threat. I'm telling you, we are seeing the same stubbornness and the same ego, just in different ways that we saw with Brian Flores. Brian Flores didn't want any threats. Brian Flores didn't want any big voices that were going to blow back on him and that were going to stand up to him. We're seeing the same way McDaniel ain't bringing in Doug Peterson because he's a threat. If things go wrong, we start off 2-4, losing play calling duties might be the last thing on your mind, and you might be worried about this guy being your interim coach. When, brother, Anthony Weaver might be coming back, and if Anthony Weaver comes back, he might be the interim coach anyways. But it would have showed me you're taking this seriously. I've heard nothing's going to happen with Rizzy because Rizzy does not want to work with Greer and Ross. You know what has showed me you're taking this seriously, Greer? Ring, ring. Hi, can I speak to Mr. Rizzy? Hi, Darren. I'd love for you to come back, man. Let's put everything aside. What is fair compensation to bring you back? Because you'd be bringing back one of the best special team coordinators we've ever had, and that's in the NFL. Who's better than him? Richie Bisaccia? Maybe that's it? He's the man who found Jason Sanders. You think Rizzy would have let Jake Bailey go as far as he's gone? Hell no. But that would have showed me growth. That would have showed me, okay, these guys, even if it didn't work out and the report came out, the Dolphins, they hit up Rizzy. They wanted him to come down. They're willing to put the money on the table and to put past aside. But I ain't seeing that growth, man. And that's what worries me. Reason, who would you want at head coach next year? I've talked about this over and over and over again. One of them is gone now. So when we were talking this season, I was the first one. I've been talking about it since like September. Okay, so I was the first one. I was the first one to mention this guy's name. And the viewers can vouch. I wanted Steve Spagnuolo. If we were going to go veteran, if we were going to go new, I wanted to go Ben Johnson. I see people are getting on the Spags train now, but I've been talking about Spags for a long time on this channel as he should get another shot. I've been talking about him since last offseason, basically. And then when things started going wrong, I said that's who I would go after. And why? Because Mike Bergonzi hadn't accepted the job with Tennessee, And I said, if you're going to fire McDaniel, you got to fire Greer because you're not going to give him a fourth head coach. So you could go get Spags and Borgonzi. You could go pluck from the Kansas City Chiefs, but now you've missed the window on Borgonzi. Because I want to pluck from winning franchises. Why are we going to pluck from losers? We drafted Kelvin Banks, who is at the top of my list. Him and Will Campbell, they're there. Would you play him at guard or move Paul to guard? I think. Okay, so Kelvin Banks can play guard and he can play tackle. I think he can play both. Now, let's say Armstead comes back, right? Like, I would play him at guard. But he can play tackle in a pinch for you, for sure. And I honestly think he can, if a team drafted him and started him at tackle, I think he can play tackle or guard. Like Will Campbell. I know Will Campbell, everyone thinks short. Like, everyone's worried about some of the measurements and stuff, but I think Campbell can stick at tackle too. I think these guys are technicians, man. I'm very high on Kelvin Banks. I would love, in this offense too, like, Kelvin Banks is legit in this offense. I'm a fan. Always been a fan. But yeah, I think he can play both. I honestly believe he can play both. Seriously. So, and I know a lot of people will say, oh, guard. I'm telling you, I think he can play both, man. But, it depends on who's returning. Like, if Armstead's back and Jackson's back, okay, I'd play my guard. And then I'm going to tell you this right now. Jackson's going to probably get hurt. Armstead's probably going to get hurt. You might have to kick out Banks to one of the tackle spots. So, yeah, I think he can play guard and tackle. I think the 3 best linemen in this draft are Will Campbell, Kelvin Banks, and Tyler Booker. I think Jonas Savannah can play tackle or guard for you. He could play the right side for you. He could play right guard. I don't think he's going to be there, but my ideal pick at 48, if Jackson Dart isn't on the board, it's Jonas Savannah. Now, then again, if we haven't taken a safety and Nick Emanuel is on the board, it becomes tough. But there's going to be options at 48. But yeah, like, I'm telling you, Jonas Savannah, go watch that kid. That's what you want in this offense. Watch that. Go look at Samoan, behemoth, moves so well for a man his size, and he's nasty. And he is nasty. I would love Jonas Savannah. I would love Jonas Savannah in this offense. I'm telling you. And I'm not even lying to you. I'd double dip. Like, if Kelvin Banks fell to me at 13 and Jonas Savannah was the highest rated player on my board, which at 48, which is a good chance he might be, because I don't think Dart makes it to the second. And there's other guys I like there too. But anyways, I wouldn't even mind. Give me Kelvin Banks and Jonas Savannah. And sign someone or 2 people in free agency. I don't even care. You know what? Because Jonas Savannah can take over for Austin Jackson when he hits the bricks, because I don't think he's going to get another contract because he's always hurt. Draft tackles that can play guard, man. Let's go. Let's go. I want to double dip in free agency in the draft. Like, I don't want 2 starting rookies, but, I mean, if the right guy fell to me, yeah, I would invest, because you don't know what you have in Patrick Paul. You don't know yet, right? Austin Jackson is always hurt. You don't know if Teron Armstead's coming back. Robert Jones and Eichenberg need to go, because we're in a position where one of those 2 or both of them might be brought back as just depth because we're so deep. They're trying to tell all y'all that Keon Smith might be something. Please, God, no. We need a lot of work on that offensive line, so I wouldn't even mind double dipping. The only depth piece I'm intrigued about seeing is Andrew Meyer, Because I think you got something there. If you remember my film breakdowns after last offseason, I do think you got something there in Andrew Meyer in terms of a developmental center. I really do. Yeah, Armand Membu from Missouri's a beast. Another guy can play guard, or he could play tackle for you in a pinch if you needed him to. Right? Just like Marcus Mbao, right, from Purdue. A lot of people are projecting him inside to guard. He could play tackle for you in a pinch. Now, I would prefer him to stick at guard, you know? So, there's options. I'm telling you, there's options, baby. Let's go. Build me the trenches. And listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I want offensive linemen and defensive linemen. Like, you know? I love Deion Walker. If you can land me Deion Walker, oh my God. You want a fun watch? Go watch that, man. I don't know if you guys saw, but Deion Walker, I believe he measured today. Because I've been talking about him on this channel for quite some time. I'm pretty sure Deion Walker measured at the Senior Bowl. Let me look. I'm pretty sure he did. Was it the Senior Bowl or the Shrine Bowl? One of the two. Senior Bowl. 6'7", 340 pounds, 34 and 5/8 inch arms. I've been talking about Deion Walker for quite some time. Now, I just gave you his profile, right? Let me tell, just to put in perspective how this kid moves in his ceiling. Again, 6'7", 340, and he can line up as a stand-up rusher off the edge. He can line up all the way from a 0 to a stand-up rusher off the edge. Think about that for a second. And I believe, if memory serves me correct, he's only going to be 21 by the draft. Brother, let Anthony Weaver get his hands on that type of project. We saw what he did with Chop. Oh my God. Let him refine something like that. Woo-wee. Man, I'm telling you, that ceiling on Deion Walker, bam. If he lands with the right coach, man, that thing could be nasty. I'm telling you. It's all going to come about. His development's all going to be about environment and good coaching. You know, like we already know about the Mason Grahams, the Tyleek Williams, the Derek Harmons, right? The Shamar Stewarts, the Kenneth Grants, the Walter Nolans. We already know about these guys. And Nazir Stackhouse, I talk about TJ Sanders and Tonka Hemingway were mentioned earlier, right? Obviously, Kenneth Grant, someone we all love. So, I mean, it's a good defensive tackle class. It really is. It really is. I would love Trey Smith in free agency, but they're not going to spend $20+ million on a guard, or they would have already spent it on Robert Hunt. They're not going to. They don't value the position like that. I think you got to look more towards the guys that are going to be asking for the mid-tier money, the $8 to $12 million, maybe a little higher than $12 million range. Those are the guys you got to look at. Maybe the Tevin Jenkins, the Mekhi Bectons, the Kevin Zeitlers. I think that those are the ranges you got to look at more. You know, so James Daniels, Scotty mentioned, that's another range you want to look at. I don't think they're going to look at that high. You know? So, is what it is. Remember, what do I always say? Don't ever let it be what it ain't. All right. First of all, a few things here. All right. Number one, shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this channel. Head on over to betus.com right now. And they want to know. BetUS wants to know. Be honest. Put it in the chat. Put it in the comment section right now. Are you excited for this Super Bowl matchup? This rematch between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles? I know I'm not. I mean, fly Eagles fly, I guess, because I don't want a three-peat to, the Dolphins are tied for the record for, the most Super Bowls won back-to-back in terms of 2. The Kansas City would stand alone. I mean, I told all y'all last year when this was going down, this man's the GOAT. And he is the GOAT. I'm telling you, he's better than, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are going to go down as a better combo than Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Here we go. It's happening. It's going to happen. I'm sorry. I'm not as excited for this Super Bowl, but I'll be watching. I'll be betting. And if you're going to be betting on the Super Bowl, go to betus.com right now. Use promo code YouTube150. That's YouTube150. Get your first 3 deposits matched by $2,000. Some of the quickest payouts in the industry, 24/7 customer service. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring the channel and this show. Okay, now we got a bit to go over here. So let's start off with, you thought I was going to forget? Please. Let's start off with the Jabroni of the week. Let's start off the week right. Dolphin fans rooting for Buffalo to win the AFC Championship. I'm sorry, you're the Jabroni of the week. I'm sorry. You know, I wear the Jabroni of the week when I make bad calls or bad projections or believe in the wrong thing. I wear it, and I'm the host of the freaking show. So y'all are going to wear this crown right here. I don't get this. All of y'all all over X especially over X. I'd rather watch the Kansas City Chiefs win a Super Bowl for the next 20 years than watch the Bills even play in the Super Bowl. Are you kidding me right now? All right? You're going to root for Buffalo to win the AFC Championship? Tell me without telling me you were not a fan of this team through the 60s, 70s, 80s, and the 90s. Like, you can just go ahead and tell me that without telling me that if you really want to. Because, I mean, I know, listen, I was born in 1985, okay? All right? I sat on the couch, all right? I watched the Dolphins lose 29-10 on January 17th at Joe Robbie Stadium to the Buffalo Bills when I was about to turn 8, when I was 7 years old, okay? Like, what are we talking about here? How can you even be okay with this? I don't get this. I mean, like, man, where were y'all in the divisional in 1990, man? I remember being 5 years old, about to turn 6, watching this with my dad, and losing 44-34 in the divisional round to Buffalo. Like, what are we talking about? O.J. Simpson was the Buffalo Bills star running back till he got indicted for murder. Don't even have to just say they're a divisional rival. I mean, they had a freaking murderer as their star for how many years? Like, what are we talking about here? We watched them beat us in the last game of the season last year, in week 18 for the division. Now you want to cheer for them? And let me do you even better. Let me do you even better. Do you really think Buffalo Bills fans would be rooting for us to go to the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl if the positions were reversed? Please. Please. Like, what are we saying here? You think the Bills fans, Bills Mafia, would be cheering for y'all? Man, y'all getting lost in the fact that when they win or something goes their way, the Bills Mafia will donate to something. I sat here as a child and watched that team beat us in the playoffs. And now you think I'm going to cheer for them? Listen, I'm also a Pittsburgh Penguins fan. You think I would ever cheer for the Philadelphia Flyers to win the Stanley Cup? Are you nuts? Have you lost your mind? Please. And again, I say, stop being so naive as to think they would cheer for us or they would have our back. Have you ever been to Buffalo? Have you ever met a Bills fan? Please. Let's have a reality check. And y'all got to hang it. The fact that you'd even cheer for them is mind-boggling to me. I wanted to throw up when they were winning yesterday. All right. Now, Reggie Mckenzie. The Titans continue to add expertise to the front office as they are set to hire Dolphins executive Reggie Mckenzie in a key senior scouting role. Sources say the former Raiders GM and respected personnel man will support Mike Bergonzi, Chad Brinker, and David Ziegler. I'm going to tell you right now why this is not good. Let's break this down. Look, okay? Let's break this down for a second, okay? Number one. All right. He interviewed with the Titans for their GM role. He took a lesser role than what he originally interviewed for. Number one. Number two, that team's got a long way to go. He chose a rebuild over the current Dolphins build. That's number two. Number three, and this is the worst one of them all. It's basically a lateral move. He didn't even get a promotion from where he is right now. He literally took a lateral move. He took a lesser job than he interviewed for. He decided to go with a rebuild than the current build, which is much farther along. And he didn't even take a promotion from his current job. He basically took a lateral move. Holy jeez. If that doesn't, and I mentioned this on Twitter yesterday. I literally talked about this on Twitter yesterday. I made a post about this. It really makes you wonder of where he sees the future with this regime. Makes you think that he sees the ship is sinking and he ain't the violinist going down playing on the Titanic. He is jumping off the side even before the Titanic breaks in half. I don't even think that's reading a lot into the move. I think that's literally where we're at. The guy's been here for how long? He was literally our GM's right-hand man. What are we talking about? I think you're being too dismissive of this. There's no way you can convince me that is a positive. Him and Marvin Allen are the most trusted advisors of Chris Greer. Just saying. I don't know how you can positively spin that. I honestly really don't. That doesn't come off as a positive to me. That makes my eyebrow raise, especially because we're already looking at this. Look inside yourself as a Dolphins fan. Do you think they're going to fix this situation? Do you think all of a sudden they've got people undisciplined, not caring about fines, not coming in, whatever, missing practice, getting excused for practice to work tills? What do you think? All of a sudden that's going to change overnight? Not if you don't change the personnel. Just saying. So, I'll be honest with you. I think he sees with the writing on the wall. I really honestly believe he sees the writing on the wall. I'm not even trying to be pessimistic. That's literally, honestly, just how I view this situation. I think he sees the writing on the wall. Jevon Holland, something I wanted to talk about. Now, I said months and months and months and months ago, last offseason, I said he was going to command, from what I was hearing, he was going to command Antoine Winfield type of money, around $20 million a year. People said, hey, he's not worth it. You're not going to hear backlash from me. Problem is, with how weak this free agent class is, he might get it with how young he is. And Athletes First has done a damn good job, and I've given them credit over the last couple of years about this. I've mentioned it over and over. They keep his name in the voice of the NFL media when they discuss best young up-and-coming defenders in football. He's always listed. So let's get into this because there's a few things I want to talk about. Now, this is from NFL.com. They did an article, and it was about 9 players who have earned big money contracts in the 2025 season. They said Holland has been a playmaker for the Dolphins since Miami selected him 36th overall in 2021 draft. He's a versatile safety with great instincts and tackling ability. I guess I didn't watch the Green Bay game, which allows him to play deep in the middle of the field or up in the box. As a guy who can play in any defensive scheme, look for Holland to earn a contract similar to the one Jesse Bates signed with the Falcons in 2023. Now, if you remember, what did Jesse Bates sign for? He signed for 4 years, $64 million, about a little over $16 million a year. But again, you see NFL.com propping him up. Now let's keep going. PFF. This is what they had in their little top free agent going to be available article. And here is what it said about Jevon Holland. He's expected 4 years, $19.5 million a year. $98 million in total, $57.5 million guaranteed. Second round draft pick out of Oregon in 2021. Holland is ranked as one of the 5 highest graded safeties in 2 of his first 3 seasons in the league. He earned a career low 63 PFF grade in 2024, but his body of work more than speaks for itself. So again, now we are in the 16 to 19.5 range that we see is being put out there. When we go to Bleacher Report, they came out with an article. The free agency big board, this is where they had Jevon Holland ranked. They had Jevon Holland ranked number 5 overall on their big board for free agency. PFF has him number 3, I believe. So they got Jevon Holland number 5. Dolphin safety Jevon Holland has battled injuries over the last few years. He suffered injuries to both knees late last season, suffered a hand injury in 2024 that required surgery. Holland still started 15 games in his contract season and allowed an opposing passer rating of only 84.3 in coverage. He tallied 62 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, a sack, and a forced fumble, one that helped the Dolphins beat the Jags back in week 1. While Holland didn't produce gaudy statistics in 2024, he's still one of the best young defenders in the NFL. He'll turn 25 in March and should interest any team searching for a long-term answer on the back end if the Dolphins allow him to test the market. Holland would be a sensible target for the Bears, who relied on a 31-year-old Kevin Byard the third this season. Byard is under contract through 2025, but Chicago could save $7 million in cap space by releasing him before free agency begins. The Vikings, who have $77 million in projected space and upcoming questions at safety, could also target Holland. Again, you see the wording He's being viewed in one of these top 5 safeties, top 5 defenders, blah, 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 blah. It's looking like it is going to cost quite a lot of money to bring in Jevon Holland on an extension. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Anything over $15 million, not happening. Not happening at all. I can't get down on paying this kid. And it's really, when you look at the draft class, like when you look at the safety class, it's really good. There's a lot of good options in this class. Now in free agency, there's not very many. Like your second best safety is probably Hufanga from the 49ers. And Bynum is probably your third best safety, and he's from the Vikings. Justin Reed is going to be a free agent from the Chiefs. That's another option. Harrison Smith from the Vikings. I like Trevon Moehrig. They came out of the same class, I believe, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Trevon Moehrig came out of the same class as Jevon Holland from the Raiders. Justin Simmons is going to be a free agent again. Jeremy Chin will be a free agent again. So there's options in free agency. But I also think the draft class itself is pretty good also. You know, like we've spoken about a few on this channel. Obviously, Malachi Starks, we've talked about to quite an extent. I mentioned him earlier. Another one is Nick Manowari, absolute monster, great player, absolutely great player. That's another option too. You know, there are options when you look at safety. You got Makuba out of Texas coming out, right? I like Xavier Nwakba from Iowa. You got Xavier Watts from Notre Dame, Malachi Moore. There's options. It's a decent little safety class. So, yeah. Yeah, so we'll see. Given how cheap veteran safeties have been, maybe that might be the better option. Like if you could imagine if you could pair Justin Simmons and Jeremy Chin on the cheap together, because safeties aren't getting really paid like that. That'd be good. You know, I do think Malachi Starks at 13 is probably a consensus draft pick a lot of people in his fan base would be okay with. Nick Manowari at 48, I think would be another one of those, but I don't think Manowari gets to 48. Now, I think Makuba, I like Makuba. You know what I mean? So, I wouldn't mind that at 48 too. It just all depends on how the board really falls. I just can't get down on paying that kind of money to Jevon Holland. I really can't. And I'm a Jevon Holland fan. You know? The cap's only expected to jump 10 or 20 million this offseason. You know? I know Bleacher Report, they did also project Jevon Holland's going to sign a 4-year, $85 million contract extension with $45 million of that guaranteed. Like, no, man. You got to be our best defender to get that kind of payday from safety. And man, I saw him going into business for himself. Like, no. I think that whole safety room needs to be rebuilt. I don't want Shiloh Sanders, bro. Did you see, hey, Juice, did you see my boy Luke Lachey? This is why I keep saying don't draft a Tyler Warren or Loveland in the first round. Do you see my boy Luke Lachey give the work to Shiloh Sanders? Absolutely ate Shiloh Sanders alive. Absolutely ate him alive at the East-West Shrine Bowl. And I don't know if you saw, but our boy, the guy we've been talking about on this channel for quite some time, Kyle McCord's been balling out at the Shrine Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. Kyle McCord's been balling out. Just saying. Shout out to Kyle. We know we love him on this channel. So, the Dolphins still may lose one of their top defensive assistants, coaches, as the Cowboys have now requested to interview Dolphins outside linebackers coach Ryan Crow for their DC position. He is due to meet with Dallas soon. He interviewed last week for the Patriots DC spot. So, if Weaver does leave, which speaking of, I'm going to have a 3 takes. I got a couple nuggets talking about free agency and stuff like that coming your way on a 3 takes episode. I'll drop it either tonight or tomorrow. So 3 takes episode coming for y'all real soon. But, you know, whatever, depending on what happens with Weaver, Crow seems like a real internal possibility. Vrabel thinks highly of him. And, you know, now he's getting interviewed in Dallas. So, you know, shout out. I think Austin Clark needs to get more love too. No, and I forgot to answer this. No, we are not going to get a pick for Reggie Mckenzie. He needed to take the general manager job. It's basically a lateral move. We don't get anything for Reggie Mckenzie leaving. I forgot to answer that earlier. And listen, for all of you that watched me last year, week in and week out, when I had Omar Kelly on the show for Cover 4 for our podcast we had last year during the season before he went to the Miami Herald, I kept saying we need a tight end. We need a yak tight end. We need a playmaking tight end. That's the next evolution. Well, shout out to the only Pro Bowler from the Miami Dolphins this year, and that is Jonnu Smith. You know, people just want to talk about the quarterback, but we talk about every position over here. We evaluate and project every position over here, whether it's the draft or the roster itself. And man, you can't tell me I wasn't right about what a tight end could do in the system. And then I know everyone started jumping on board with it a couple months after the season when the interview came out when Mike McDaniel said the next evolution was a tight end, which I had been saying 6-8 months prior to that with Omar Kelly. And now you are seeing the results. The only Pro Bowler from the Miami Dolphins this year, Jonnu Smith, who had a career year, he should have been voted to the Pro Bowl. He should have already been nominated to the Pro Bowl because of the year Jonnu had. Absolute stud year. Great stuff from Jonnu. Shout out to Jonnu Smith, man. So, there you go. The Dolphins, you can officially say, finally, in 2024, we got a Pro Bowler. Hey, Jonnu, I get it. I know you'd rather be playing in the Super Bowl. Man, I'd rather be watching in the Super Bowl. But at this point, it's the small victories, okay? You know? It's the small victories. I don't even know what else to say. Because it's painful right now to be a Dolphin fan. It is painful right now to be a Dolphin fan. You know, and you guys really showed that this year. What can I say? I'd be lying if I said you guys didn't. And how do I know you guys showed it? Because you literally showed it with your viewership. Teams that pulled the most and the fewest viewers this season. Bottom 10 viewership, Dolphins right there. Look at that. One of the bottom teams in the NFL in terms of viewership. The 10th lowest viewership this season were the Miami Dolphins. And what a fall from grace. We went from week 17 of 2023 with a chance to lock up first seed to week 18 after blowing week 17 with a chance to lock up the division to now the 10th lowest viewership in the NFL. This is what the injury to your quarterback and bad play when your quarterback is out will do. And that's why I need you to smash the like button and subscribe if you're new as much as you can, because it ain't easy being a Dolphin fan, but try being a Dolphin creator that wants to see them win. All right, we got 88 likes right now. I need 12 more likes. Get me to 100 likes. Show me some love. I appreciate all of y'all for coming through on this Monday to start your week. We're going to be back this week. I'll be back for the finish line with Richmond and ball game. I'll be back with Neil. A lot of content coming your way as we move forward. Do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. We are on our way to 17K. And let's get to 20K because I got a huge, huge giveaway planned for all of you. Until then, you don't know what time it is. Fins up all day. Shout out to BetUS for powering this video. We'll see y'all in the next one.